Serving in the context of calling. Number 97. Welcome back. Today, we'll explore the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, and John to understand how Jesus served people while not necessarily fulfilling all their desires. So let's get started. Matthew 14 verses 22 to 23, Mark 6 verses 45 to 46, John 6:14, 17a. When the people saw the sign that Jesus had performed, they began to say, "Truly, this is the prophet who is to come into the world." Then Jesus, realizing that they were about to come and make him king by force, immediately made the disciples get into the boat and go on ahead of him to the other side, to Bethsaida and Capernaum, while he dismissed the crowds. After bidding them farewell, he had sent them away. He went up on the mountain by himself to pray. When evening came, he was there alone. My thoughts. So why did Jesus slip away from those who wanted to make him king? Wasn't that the primary reason he came? To be our king? Jesus said, "For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life a ransom for many." Mark 10 verse 45. Can you think of a better way to serve the people than to be their king and deliver them from oppression and injustice? Maybe, but that's not the kind of king the Father nor Jesus had in mind. Notice I used a lowercase k to describe the kind of king the people wanted. The people wanted Jesus to serve them by conquering the Romans and anyone else who would exert their power over them. So what's happening here? Both the Father and Jesus knew he was already the king with a capital K. The Father and Jesus wanted to conquer sin and death. God wanted to set up an eternal kingdom of righteousness and justice for every tribe, tongue, and nation. Oftentimes, we think of a servant as an individual that is at the beck and call of every desire of the master. The problem comes when we get confused with who is the true master. Yes, Jesus served the people, but make no mistake about it, the Father was the supreme master. Jesus did exactly as his master desired and served the people in the context of his calling. Listen to Jesus' commitment to his calling from the Father as he served the people. Therefore Jesus answered and was saying to them, "Truly, truly, I say to you, the Son can do nothing of himself, unless it is something he sees the Father doing. For whatever the Father does, these things the Son also does in like manner." John 5 verse 19. In other words, Jesus served the people exactly the way the Father wanted him to serve them. I'm sure the people had no clue that their king would actually die for them. They had a completely different agenda for his kingship. I'm very thankful Jesus' ultimate priority was serving the Father as he served us. Jesus serves people in the context of his calling from the Father. My story. I'm a systems guy. Well, I'm good at coming up with systems to facilitate administration and ministry, but I'm terrible at maintaining them when they are up and running. When I was a chaplain in the Army, they asked me to be a resource manager and square away their financial support. I was able to turn a clunky mess into a well-oiled machine. Only one problem. I could not stand the arduous and boring task of managing it. I went to my supervisor and threatened to retire early if they didn't transfer me back to troops instead of counting pennies. My boss informed me I was still in the Army and you don't just quit a job. Fortunately, he understood where I was coming from and I was reassigned to the Ranger Training Brigade. Throw me in the briar patch. This would happen several times in subsequent years. Chuck would develop a system to solve a particular problem and then be expected to babysit the system I built. I was good at solving the problem, but dismal as keeping the wheels turning to maintain it. My administrative skills served the people, but I was called to being in the trenches with people, not looking at spreadsheets and making reports. I admire the guys that can do that, but when I finally figured out my primary contributions to the body, I was a lot happier and much more productive. I had to serve in the context of my calling. Our action plan. Now it's time for application. Here's some ideas. Do a comprehensive Bible study on spiritual gifts. Evaluate how you and those you disciple are currently utilizing these gifts in your lives and ministries. Do an in-depth Bible study on the concept of God's calling. Through prayer, reflection, and analysis, strive to discern your personal calling to the best of your ability. Create a structured plan to further explore and confirm your calling. Outline specific steps you need to take to effectively serve within that calling. including any necessary preparation or skill development. As we wrap up our look at serving in the context of our calling, it's important to remember that our goal isn't to meet everyone's expectation, but to align our service with God's bigger picture. When we embrace our unique gifts and calling, we can find real joy in serving others while staying true to the path God has laid out for us, just like Jesus did during his earthly ministry.